Hey, Big Red, guess what?
What?
After years of stalking, I finally broke down and bought some Warhammer.
Excellent. Your life now belongs to us.
Well, not my life, just my weekends.
You think you can be casual about Warhammer?
It's just a hobby, right?
Your life now belongs to us. And once you start playing Warhammer, there's no going back.
For the last couple years, I have been devouring everything Warhammer I could kind of get my hands into. Um, I want to play. I want to get out there. I want to play. I want to build an army, but there's so many armies. There's so many different things to choose from. And so I have been doing my homework for years. I mean, I started looking into Warhammer back when I was 9 years old, when I was buying magic cards at the local game shop. And so I wanted to know everything there was about it before I jumped into it. I wanted to know everything I could before I put in that initial investment. And along the way, I found and learned a couple things that I feel like people should know. People ought to know
People need to know the truth.
about Warhammer. And so that's what this video is about. This video is the 10 things that you probably don't know about Warhammer and that people don't talk about very much. So let's get started. Number 1, Warhammer is hard. If anyone tells you it's easy, they're lying. There's no way around it. With the amount of time and everything that goes into this game, it is hard. You're going to have 10 plus different kinds of units in your armies, and each one of them is going to be completely different and how they operate. Sure, you can do similar things and try and keep it easy for yourself, but there is a lot of stuff that you have to learn just in order to play this game. And on top of that, every 3 years, a new edition of the game comes out. So, with that new edition, guess what? New rules, new stats, new things for most of the armies are going to roll out. And so, you have to stay on top of it in order to play. Number 2. This goes along with number 1 in that learning your army is hard enough. Learning every other army in the game is near impossible unless you devote just lots of time to this. And those people out there who have done that, you know who you are, and thank you. But for everybody else, you basically have to trust your opponent.
Trust me.
With the rules, with what their army does, everything like that. Unless you know the rules of their specific army. I mean, if you're just playing with friends and you're trying to figure things out, you can do that. You can learn 1 or 2 armies. But if you're playing 10, 11 different armies in a tournament, you basically have to trust them that they know their army, and on top of that, that they're being straight to you with everything that they're doing. Can you look it up? Yeah, obviously you can. You can pull up the rules online. You can pull up the codex for that army. But it comes down a lot to trusting whoever you're playing while you're playing the game to be fair and cool. Number 3, building your army takes a long time. And I'm not saying, putting your units together and, putting them on the field or anything like that. No, I'm literally talking about building your army. You have sprues of these units and you have anywhere from 50 to 100 units, in your army. And you have to clip every little piece out and put it together. Literally, building your army is going to take you hours. And then once you have everything in the way you want it, you glue it all together, which takes time to glue it together. And once it's all glued, well, there's more work to be done depending on how clean you want your models to look. If you're going to do any kit bashing, which is just kind of changing things, making them more your own. But just building the army takes forever. If you like Legos, this is right up your alley. Number 4 goes along with number 3 in that painting your army takes a long time. You always hear about people that have their piles of shame or their gray armies and things like that. And what they mean is that these armies, you have to paint them. To play in like a tournament, they have to be painted a minimum of 3 separate colors. Okay, so you can't just slap a spray paint on and call it good. You literally have to go in and paint all your miniatures and do a good job. I don't want this to sound like a negative thing, because when you have a nicely painted army, it looks amazing. And if you're going to put that time into your army, you better believe that you're going to want to play people that did the same exact thing. So paint your army. Get out there. Paint it. It shouldn't take you 100 years to paint, but it might take you 100 hours, and that's probably pretty good time for a lot of people. Number 5, and this is one that I think is especially cool. You look around and you see all these different Warhammer Space Marine armies. You know, you got the Ultramarines, you got the Iron Hands, you got Salamanders, you got all these different factions. You can make your own faction. Do it. Make your own. Come up with your own color scheme. Come up with your own backstory. You can make your own faction and paint it the way that you want it and have a story behind it. And it just makes your army that much cooler. Now, keep in mind, your army is going to have to adhere to some of the rules, well, to all of the rules of one of the armies. And what I mean by that is, on the outside, they can look like whatever you want, and the backstory can be whatever you want. But at their heart, they've got to be Ultramarines or Salamanders or Dark Angels or whatever it is. One of those chapters. Pick one that goes the closest to whatever you're doing and make your Space Marine chapter a chapter of that Space Marine Corps. Number 6. Everywhere you look, every channel that you look is going to tell you to find the army that you like. Find the aesthetic that you like. If you like space elves, play the Eldari. If you like people turning themselves into machines, play the Adeptus Mechanicus. If you like the dark demons, there's plenty of choices there. And if you like the Space Marines, which most people do, and it's okay, play the Space Marines. What people don't tell you about these is that some of these armies haven't received updates for their units in 10 plus years. So if you want to play one of these armies, you're going to be playing with pieces that are old and some of them that haven't had rule changes in a very long time. So just kind of keep that in mind. You want to play Eldari? That's great. You might have to do a little more homework than you would with Ultramarines that get updated all the time. You know, certain armies are easier to play just because there's more readily available. And so just kind of keep that in your mind as you're picking what army you want to do. I think you should still pursue whatever is the coolest to you. I think Adeptus Mechanicus are amazing and incredible. Their win rate, not super good. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I would still play them. I would much rather play that army than any other army just because I feel like it embodies what I like the most. Number 7. It doesn't matter what army you pick. You can still have fun. If you pull up the win rates for the armies, they're all over the place, right? You know, generally Games Workshop tries to keep it as close to 50%. That way everyone's kind of winning as much as they can, but it actually goes a little closer to between 40 and about 60% most of the time. Okay, and that's their job. But even if you're only winning 40% of the time, that's still pretty good. You can still have a lot of fun winning 40% of the time. And
60% of the time, it works every time.
You know, if you want to have that army that's always the best, you can totally do that too. It's your money. You do whatever you want with it. But pick something that you want to play. Pick an army that speaks to you and play with it and have fun. You can have fun with any of these armies. You can have fun losing this game as well as winning it. That's one of the cool things about it. Now, with that being said, I gotta mention number 8. This game, yes, it can be super fun, but it can also be super boring. Matches take anywhere from 1.5 to 3 hours, and sometimes they go longer than that. You know, so this is an investment to play as much as it is an investment to pay for. But with that being out there, it's cool. It's fun to be able to have these matches that go that long. It's fun to be able to come back even when you don't think you're going to win or you're outnumbered, which you can do, you know, and it can be great. But there is the other side of that, that it can be slow. And depending on who you're playing, if they don't know their army well, or you don't know your army well, you can be the one that slows it down. The way this game works is each player, I mean, you take turns. And by turn, I mean you move your entire army. You do everything for your entire army, and then it's their turn, and they respond and do everything with their entire army. So you may be sitting there for 20 to 30 minutes after your first turn, just waiting for your opponent to do their turn and just kind of rolling the dice here and there to see if your units get destroyed or not. So keep that in mind. It can be great, but it can also be really boring sometimes. Number 9. I have to talk about this. Some people do. Most channels, when they talk about the game, they're just telling you about the game. The lore behind this game is amazing. Any army you want, there's some lore about them generally. Now, is there going to be a ton? Just depends on what army you pick. But the lore is so deep and so in depth, and it pulls you in just to learn about these factions. Oh, you want Hopeless? You can read about Hopeless. Oh, you want Space Marines that save people, that go out of their way, that sacrifice themselves to save just the standard humans in the galaxy? Salamanders. Read about them. They're incredible. Their leader is just like they are. He cares about the people, and he's awesome. The lore is so amazing. Look into it. If you care at all about the armies that you're doing, read about them. It will only help you like them more. And number 10, the lore is not the only thing about Warhammer that is amazing. The other thing that is amazing about Warhammer is the community. If you don't believe me, jump over to Reddit. Yeah, you're going to see a couple people that are negative Nancy's or whatever, but ask a question about Warhammer and you'll have 10, 15 people jump in that will tell you the community wants to grow. The community wants to grow. They want you to be a part of it. They want to help you. And they'll tell you anything that you care to know about.
Join us! Join us! Join us!
Okay, keep in mind, this game, it takes a lot of knowledge, and so sometimes they're going to drop a lot of that on you, and sometimes it might be a little hard to understand, but just ask for clarification and they will clarify it. They will go out of their way to make your life easier. And if you go to your local game shop and ask to watch or ask somebody to teach you to play, chances are somebody there will teach you how to play. They'll walk you through it. They'll set you down with your unpainted army and play a game with you and show you how to do it. They'll give you tips. They might even give you some models that they don't need that could help you out. The community is amazing. So don't wait so long. Don't wait as long as I have to get into this game. And that's my list. So, are there more things? Of course there are. I'd be interested to know in the things that you've found out that while you've played Warhammer, the things that you've learned that kept your interest, the things that people didn't tell you that might have snuck up on you, whether they're good or bad. Like I said, certain things about this game are great. Certain things about this game are a little more tiresome, but that's okay. I just want to know the things that surprised you, the things that, if you're anything like me, you've watched 100 YouTube videos about Warhammer and you've never seen people talk about. Share them here down in the comments and let's get the word out there so everybody else knows. Like, subscribe, follow the channel. We're going to be talking about the Warhammer Killer in next week's video, and I'm sure you'll like that if you liked this video. From those of us here at Pulsegate Games, thank you for joining us. And as always, don't be so busy building your world that you forget to spend some time in it. That goes with Warhammer too. Don't spend so much time building your models that you forget to actually get out there and play with them. People have piles of shame, generally because they're not playing with those piles. So get out there and change that. Until next time.